here for over 40 years, and Paul, we're delighted to have you here again this year. Hello, guys.
Next comes, is this a very rare car with the...
Looks like the Paracel accessory.
Yes, it's the Paracel accessory.
This is a $5 option here.
Tom and Kay Metzler from Greenwood, Indiana, with the Parasol accessory. We don't usually see those. We see them on buggies, but not too many.
Buggies, but not in Auburn.
Dave Asher from Maryland, a 35, 653 Phaeton.
That little whistle is an air horn that's tied into the exhaust system.
Here's an excellent car from Fort Wayne.
That's
Steve and
gorgeous.
Kathleen Butler, 1919
Auburn. Look at this beautiful car. Rare, rare, rare.
Come on. We're not charging for this. Come on. It's free.
Nice supercharged sound. Listen to that engine, folks. Supercharged.
Steve and Kathleen Butler again from Fort Wayne with another black and burgundy. David Gaunt from Naples, Florida. That's a far way.
Isn't this a gorgeous car? All the way from Naples, Florida. Look at this beautiful gray boat tail. Again, they only made 200 of these in 35, 200 of them in 36. Very rare.
Excuse me. Here's a car from Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin. Is that anywhere Elkhart Lake?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I was there. I went to Siepkins to have chocolate cake.
All right, look at this. Here's a supercharged Auburn under restoration.
Mark Spandekal from Illinois.
Very good. I don't think he's driving that one.
Here comes a Cord. That doesn't look like a Cord.
I think it's a Corvette Cord. Okay. All right, with the L29 Cords, Ken, these are the very first front-wheel drive cars ever built in the United States. This is the Cord automobile.
Glenn Peterson in a...
Isn't that a gorgeous car?
1931 L29.
This is the first car to have a front-wheel drive, and notice how low these cars are. They're a foot lower than anything else at the time.
Here's John Bull's. Is John
Bull's car. This has a big straight 8 motor. Notice the length of the hood is almost half the length of the car. This was absolutely a sensation when these cars were introduced in 1929.
Here comes Jack and Lucy Laughlin from Fort Wayne. I think this car is yellow. I'm not sure.
These are cabriolets. This is a convertible coupe with a rumble seat. These originally were priced at around $3,300, which may not sound like much, but it was a lot in 1929.
This next car is driven by Mike and Joan Huffman from Hudsonville. This car, a lot of people say L29s, you can't drive them, you can't drive them. Well, don't tell that to those two people, because that car's been literally around the circumference of the United States.
This has been driven everywhere, coast to coast, all over the United States, and they've had no problems with it at all.
They drove it around the perimeter of the country.
Okay, yeah, fantastic.
Ken Clark from Maine, an L29 Cabriolet.
Mr. Cord's idea, and the reason he wanted to go with front-wheel drive, basically there were certain advantages as far as snow and getting stuck in mud and that kind of thing, but basically the reason Mr. Cord wanted to go that way was because he could get the height of the car down. If you don't have a drive shaft in a car, you can bring the whole car down, and they lowered him a foot. Well, when people saw this car in 1929, they were absolutely shocked. They couldn't believe how beautiful they were and also how low they were. The car, they built these early Cords from 1929 to 1932. I think the reason the sales finally stopped was basically the Depression knocked the sales out of this upper price area, and so they basically put the Cord on hold then. So you had, for 1933 and 4, there were no Cords in 35. 36 and 37, Cords came out again. A completely new front-wheel drive car, which we're going to be seeing in a little bit.
Here comes another L29 Cord driven by William Smith of Millville, New Jersey. It's a gray sedan.
Yeah,
check out the side view mirrors on this thing.
These are neat, aren't they? Yeah, Bill brings this car every year to Auburn. Under the hood is a straight 8 motor built by Lycoming. It's 125 horsepower. They're actually a wonderful car to drive.
This next car, Charlie and Bob Saganat from New Boston, Michigan.
Okay.
That's not it. That's it.
Not quite. Okay, right here, coming right now, I believe, is Charlie's car. Look at the supercharged Cord. This is a supercharged Phaeton. First place winner. This car was introduced in 1936.
This car here, this next car.
This is
the
Cord
green one.
Stebbins from Detroit, right? Hi, Cord. How you doing? That has the original upholstery in it. I hope you take a look at it. All original interior. It was repainted only once.
Here comes Jim O'Brien in a car that needs painted. That's
Okay.
That's our certification supervisor, Jim O'Brien, with his daughter.
We got
Down
We
Pennsylvania.
have a beautiful supercharged Cord. Again, under restoration. They're doing paint work on this one.
Roger and Pam Walker.
There are basically two types of sedans. The 810 812s were designed by Gordon Bierig, the great master designer. The car coming up right now. Ken, who is the owner on this one?
This next car is owned by Tim Gilmartin, former president of the
Okay.
club.
Former president of the club. Take a look. That's a Westchester. This was the lowest price Cord you could buy. It was priced at around $2,000.
This next car here is owned by George Arakilian, and obviously it's stolen because that's not George.
This
oh,
is-
that's Mark Tomei.
Mark Tomei. This is what's called the supercharged Sportsman. They only built 92 of these. This was one of the more expensive cars. It sold for over $3,000. Supercharged engine.
This next car is owned again by George Arakilian, and obviously he doesn't care who drives his cars. He just doesn't care. That's George. Better looking than George.
Yeah, okay. Beautiful car. Okay. Greg Arnesian from Detroit. Greg, keep up the good work. Under
Greg,
the
you're
hood,
doing a great job.
Yeah, under the hood, these cars have V8 engines. The standard non-supercharged car was 125 horsepower. If you got a supercharger, they went up to 170 horsepower and some of them 190.
Don Ray, car 336 from Carmel, Indiana, followed by Greg Carlton from Ontario.
This is a 36 Cord Phaeton. Again, this car, the top goes down and it goes under a metal compartment. Also notice the headlights are hidden on these cars.
Alan Light from Williamsport, PA, been around here for at least 2 or 3 years for sure.
On each side of the dashboard is a little crank, and you literally crank the headlights up and you crank them down. This was the first car with disappearing headlights ever built.
Another 37 Cord Custom Beverly, John and Carol Prickle from Dayton, Ohio.
This was a special larger Cord. It's 6 inches longer and 2 inches higher than the normal Cord sedan. It was meant to be more of a luxury car.
We have 3 owners on this car. Rich, Deb, and Tim. Pittstown, New Jersey.
Fabulous.
Beautiful car.
This is called an armchair Beverly. Extremely rare. This is really Gordon Bierig, but this is the original design that Gordon Bierig did. He always said, that's the design, that's the car. Pardon? And his signature's on the car. Okay, good deal. All right, guys, beautiful.
This next car, Paul and Kiki Benson.
Yep, we got dual
37.
air horns again.
These are factory installed dual air horns. Following them is Leslie Dryce Joseph from Troy, Michigan in a 37 812 Beverly.
Here's a woman who drives a Cord, and she drives it at top speeds, right, Leslie? All right, top speeds.
Here comes Terry Adderley from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan in a Ganges Green 1937 812 Cabriolet.
Look at the finish on this absolute gorgeous Sportsman. This
That's
is a
not Terry.
2-passenger. They built about 110 of those cars originally.
That guy's not as good looking as Terry.
No.
Bill McLaughlin from Toronto, Ontario, Burgundy 37 Cord, followed by Bob and Lynn Rosenthal, from Howell, Michigan.
The reason for the external exhaust pipes are on the supercharged cars, you were putting out a lot more heat because there was a lot more horsepower in the engine, and they wanted to exit all that heat out of the sides of the hood. It also looks really neat.
Gregory Folk from Fremont, Indiana, followed by Jeff and Susie Folk. All the Folk folks are here today. Behind them, John and Leslie Richards from Chesterfield, Missouri.
These cars have front drive. It has a 4-speed electric vacuum transmission. The transmission is right behind the front bumper, where you see that little emblem on the front. Inside that is the transmission.
Karl Vucic. Did I say it right, Vucic? Close enough, okay. From Mystic, Connecticut.
Look at the car. This is another one of those cigarette cream colored cars. Remember the Auburn Speedster? There's a Cord with that gorgeous, gorgeous color.
Here comes a 1936 Auburn, Cord Beverly Sedan, 812, 37.
The Beverly was an extra cost item. You have a little trunk on the bustle back trunk on the rear of it. It also has folding armrests, front and rear.
Dan and Nancy DiTullio, they drive this car every year from Connecticut down.
You know,
they drive it back home.
You know, these cars will cruise 75 miles an hour all day long. It's amazing when you figure it's a 1936, 1937 car that will cruise like that. I think mainly because it has a 4-speed transmission in it, and the fourth gear is more like an overdrive than anything else, and they will really cruise down the road 2,500 RPM, 75 miles an hour.
Here comes the Waken crew. Brad, hello Brad. It's the big pedal on the right. The long pedal on the right. Push it down, it'll go.
This car has been driven back and forth from Oklahoma probably 20 plus times. I'll bet this car has been driven 50,000 miles between Auburn, Indiana and Oklahoma. Let's give these guys a real hand. They love driving their
The only reason Brad's there is to push the pedals because she can't reach the pedals.
Yeah, she has a little, she'll grow up.
Joe Leahy from Fort Wayne, Cadet Gray 36 Court, Westchester.
This is the color. This is called Cadet Gray. Very, very pretty color.
Another Leahy from Woodburn, Indiana, 37 Court.
Another supercharged Cord.
No problem.
Here comes another 365 number car, Pat Leahy.
Take a look at
Leahy, so you know what to do with it.
Now you can see the transmission exposed underneath that cover. There's the transmission in the car.
That's what they look like at some point. Brent Merle from Toronto, Ontario with a black Cabriolet 812.
Brent is another person that a great supporter of this meet, all the way from Canada. Brent, we love seeing you every year. Thanks for sharing your beautiful cars with us.
Thank you. Multiple club winner. I see a bunch of decals on the side. Followed by Ron Damiano from Lakewood, Colorado.
Look at the gorgeous paint on that.
Here comes Tom Dudley, Eric Lee, and Loopy de Loop, the friendly Frenchman, is in the front seat there with them.
This is another regular here at Auburn.
Dennis and Bonnie Haywood from Bonnie, Illinois.
The little winged emblem you see on the hood, that's another accessory that the dealer
Which one of you is
will
Bonnie?
for a small additional cost. That's the Cords. We have folks coming up are the Duesenbergs. So I want you to hang in there. As I mentioned earlier, Mr. Cord, the Duesenberg Automobile Company actually was started in the late teens. They began building aircraft engines for World War I. At the end of the war, they had a large factory, and they said, well, we might as well. They had built race cars up to that point, and they said we should build a passenger car. The first passenger car that Duesenberg brought out was the Model A, and you'll see, I believe, at least one Model A in the parade today. But they ran into financial problems, and by 1925 they were in bankruptcy. And at that point, E.L. Cord showed up. He had just taken over here in Auburn, the Auburn Automobile Company, and he basically bid on Duesenberg and won in the auction at the bankruptcy court. And Fred and August Duesenberg were the builders of the Duesenberg automobiles. He went to Fred and August and he said, look guys, I want you to build the greatest car that's ever been built in the world. And I don't care how much it costs, I want the greatest car. And the greatest car came out in late 1929, or late 28, it's called the Model J Duesenberg. They originally planned on selling 500 cars a year. And as it turned out, because of the Depression, and by 1937, they actually built 488 cars, roughly, over a period from 1929 to 1937. And that it was the greatest car in the United States. It was the most powerful car. and the most expensive car. And we've got some wonderful examples coming up, Ken.
1923 Duesenberg Model A Sport Fan. You have to look at this car. It is absolutely beautiful. It's owned by John Bulls from Hickory, North Carolina. It has been on display at the museum, so if you miss it here, go over there and take a look at it. It's great.
Now, Duesenberg based this car really on their racing cars. Duesenberg was a dominant at the Indianapolis Raceway. They won several Indianapolis 500 races. Yeah, listen to the motor in this car. They basically took the race car technology that they had developed at Indianapolis and they transferred it into their passenger cars. The Model A's are wonderful cars, and there's very, very few of them left. The Model J's, again, this is a newer model that came out in '29. There was actually a model between the A and the J called the X, but only 8 of those were built.
You need to take a good look at this car. It's a sedan.
Look at
Don't
this.
dismiss it because it's a sedan. It's called Clear Vision
Clear
sedan.
Vision.
Look at the styling on this
Yeah,
car.
look at this gorgeous lines on this. This is a Duesenberg, a 1929 sedan. The body on this car was built by the Murphy Custom Body Company in Pasadena, California. It's an extremely stylish car. The reason they called the car Clear Vision is it has very small pillars for the windshield and also very small pillars on the sides. You can see, whether in the front or back seat, you can see all around the car. The lines on the car are exquisite. The Murphy Body Company built half of the Duesenberg bodies, and I believe there were probably about 5 or 6 of these Clear Visions built. This car originally cost around $15,000. Wonderful, wonderful car. Glenn, thank you so much for bringing your wonderful car.
I heard it through the grapevine. Glenn paid $16,000 for it and gave him $1,000 pro. Glenn, that car is spectacular. Next comes
And this is killer.
Charlie Goodman.
Hi, Charlie. This is one of the neatest cars here. The J588. If you look at the J number means the engine number. 588 is the highest number. They started with 101. That's 588. It's the last Duesenberg motor ever built. This motor was installed in this car in the mid-1930s. It was owned by the Stewart family in Maryland. It was a wonderful car. They loved horses, and if you'll notice on Charlie's car, you have a horse, special horse ornament, because they had race horses that they had. The car was specially designed to be taken to Europe and go on grand tours of Europe. Mrs. Stewart was a little worried about her jewels, so there's vaults underneath the seats for her jewelry. This car, you can imagine, rolling all around Europe. It's a Murphy body that was restyled in the mid-1930s to update it and make the car more usable, particularly for grand touring in Europe.
This car and many other ones like it, Duesenbergs, are going to be next, I think, the middle of September for the tour.
Yeah, tour all over northern Michigan and
Up
into
around
Canada.
Michigan and all up in there. There's about 21 cars going, and they're all Duesenbergs. They're going to be driven a lot in
And
5
you will
days.
notice, I want to point out also on Charlie's car, this basically is not a restored car. This is an unrestored car that has been maintained beautifully by all of its owners, including Charlie's taking great care of it, and yet he loves driving it and uses it. Wonderful car, Charlie. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Charlie.
More horns, all right.
Next comes another Model J Duesenberg in 1929. It's called a Sport Phaeton. It's driven by Jennifer and Terry Adderley. They're both driving this
Yeah,
car.
look at this wonderful car. This is another Murphy body built in Pasadena. It's a sports sedan. The total production of this style was 2. They made exactly 2 of these cars, and this is one of the 2. This
right.
car was originally built for the Norris family in Chicago. The Norris family were the founders of Texaco Oil Company and were the major shareholders in Texaco. This car actually had, underneath the seats, it had liquor vaults to haul liquor back and forth from Canada that the original owner liked to have. So,
Thank you.
Gorgeous car. Whoa.
Thank you very much.
Jennifer, congratulations.
Now this is a real treat. This is Anthony Ficco. Now this guy drives 2 cars in one parade. That's amazing. He's from Colorado. It's a 34 Duesenberg J468.
Look at this unbelievable car. It's another Murphy body. It's amazing how many Murphys we have. This is a Beverly sedan. The factory built 8 of these bodies. There's 6 of them left in existence. This is probably Gordon Deering's